METAR stands for Meteorological Aerodrome Report. It's a coded description of the actual weather conditions at a specific time and place. METARs are usually issued every half hour. The first group that appears in the METAR is the identification of the report type. In this case, METAR. This will be followed by the IKO location indicator. In this example, we'll use Kingsbridge. The next group is the date and time of the observation. The first two numbers represent the date, followed by the time in UTC. Details about the wind appear next. Firstly, the direction, represented by 3 digits in 10-degree intervals. This is measured in degrees true. Next, the wind speed. A gust figure, preceded by the letter G, may also appear in this group if the gust speed is at least 10 knots more than the mean. If the gust is greater than 99 knots, then the abbreviation P99 is used instead. The final letters signify which units the wind speed is measured in, either meters per second or knots. The next group may or may not appear depending on the directional variability of the wind. It signifies the extremes in the direction of the wind during the past 10 minutes. The letter V will appear between these two directions. Visibility in the METAR is represented by the next group. In the METAR, the visibility reported is the prevailing visibility. Prevailing visibility is the visibility value that is within at least half the horizon circle or within at least half of the surface of the aerodrome. Up to 10 kilometers, this is measured in meters. For example, 0450 means that the prevailing horizontal visibility is 450 meters as measured from the observing point. Once the visibility reaches 10 kilometers or more, the code figure is 9999. If the visibility in one direction which is not the prevailing visibility is less than 1500 meters, or less than 50% of the prevailing visibility, the lowest visibility observed and its general direction should also be reported. In our example, we have the prevailing visibility of 3000 meters and a minimum visibility of 1400 meters to the southwest. In some instances, we can also find the runway visibility information. This is known as RVR, or Runway Visual Range. It's only given when either the horizontal visibility, or runway visual range, is less than 1500 meters. This group starts with the letter R, and then goes on to give the runway in use, followed by the threshold visibility. In our example at Kingsbridge, let us consider a MET visibility of 2000 meters, with an RVR on runway 27 right of 1100 meters. The visibility on approach can vary significantly from the horizontal visibility, and hence, in situations of poor vis, the RVR can be very important. Note, however, that RVR is reported for the touchdown zone only. The RVR visibility can be given as P 1500 to indicate greater than 1500 meters. In some countries, a letter can sometimes come after the RVR visibility to indicate the trend that has been experienced. A U means that the visibility has increased by 100 meters or more in the last 10 minutes. A D will indicate that it has decreased, and an N that there is no distinct tendency. Occasionally, a 1-minute maximum and minimum can be shown. In this example, on runway 27 right, the RVR has a 1-minute mean as high as 1000 meters and as low as 600 meters during the 10-minute period, and is generally increasing. The RVR value is normally measured automatically, and is derived from equations that account for ambient light, runway light intensity, and is based on the expected detection sensitivity of the pilot's eye. The weather group is next, and this signifies what weather is actually occurring at or near the aerodrome at the time of the observation. Let's look at an example. The weather group can be split into 3 parts. The plus sign is the qualifier, and in this case indicates heavy. The SH is the description. In our example, SH stands for shower or showers. Finally, in the example we look at RA, which is the actual phenomena of rain. Putting this all together, we have a heavy shower of rain. That's just one weather group. There are many more. Here is the full list. It looks complicated, but it's relatively easy to work out. Let's look at each column in turn. Put simply, the first 2 columns contain letters or symbols which act as qualifiers. The last 3 columns are the weather phenomena. This may sound confusing, but all will become clear as we work through each column in turn. The first column represents the intensity or proximity. There are 4 members of this column: minus, plus, VC, or zero entry, no qualifier. We shall see how the whole weather group works later, but for now, let's consider the next column, the description. Each member of this column basically adds detail or describes the weather phenomena coming later. The small exception is TS, which represents a thunderstorm. This can be used on its own without further groups, but we'll come to that shortly. As stated earlier, the last 3 columns represent weather phenomena. We'll now look at each of these columns in turn and explain their usage. The third column in our table considers precipitation. This group is fairly self-explanatory. It contains all the precipitation weather such as drizzle, rain, snow, hail, etc. The next column looks at obscuration of the atmosphere. Again, this is fairly self-explanatory. Some of the letters used in these columns emanate from the French words for the phenomena. This may help you remember 1 or 2 of them. For example, BR for mist comes from the French word for mist, which is brume. The final column contains all other members of the weather phenomena which haven't already been included. This group mainly consists of more unusual events that are rarely reported, but which are very important nonetheless. This completes the whole table of the weather group of the METAR. It may appear complicated, so let's now look at how some of these symbols and letters are used. We'll look at examples, starting simply and becoming more complicated. As you use the code, you'll probably find that the more common ones are quickly committed to memory. You may have to refer to notes or another source to find the decode when encountering the more unusual groups. Let's consider the code if we have a light shower of rain. We use the following symbols and letters to represent this: light, shower, of rain. This means that a light shower of rain is affecting the location at the time of observation. We can see from this example that it's not necessary to take a member from each column. The rules are that any one weather group must contain 1 or perhaps 2 members of the weather phenomena columns, That's columns 3, 4, or 5. There can be, but there doesn't have to be a qualifier. For instance, let's imagine there is a moderate shower at the site at observation time. The weather group that will appear in the METAR is SHRA.